I'm so sorry, I was drinking my coffee. Okay, so good afternoon. I think it's too late to say Happy New Year, but whatever. We didn't have a January meeting, so we're just going to say Happy New Year. Madam Chair, or Madam Clerk, will you do a roll call, please? Okay, thank you. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Our first item is to elect the Transit Executive Committee Vice Chair. And do we have any move to this one. I'm calling for nominations. Oh, Commissioner Garrett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to nominate the existing Vice Chair, Mayor Schumer.
And do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Although he's not present, we did ask him ahead of time, and he is willing to let his name stand.
Great.
Is there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, I need a motion to move to close the nominations. Commissioner McCall, okay, say it again. Mulcahy. Okay, Rhonda.
Yeah, Rhonda.
Seconded by Commissioner Anderson. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, wait a minute now. And we have confirmation from Commissioner Schumer that he is willing to stand. We have it on email, so that all works out good. And I think that's it. Yep, that's it. Okay, we're good. All in favor?
Say that he was acclaimed as the vice chair.
He was now acclaimed as the vice chair. All right, General Manager Holmes, with your report. Wait a minute, I have to adopt the minutes. Not yet. Adopt the minutes of December the 4th. I need a mover. Commissioner Watton and Commissioner Garrett. Is there any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. Now, General Manager Holmes.
Thank you, and it is our first meeting of the year, so happy New Year to everyone. Looking forward to an exciting 2025. Good afternoon, Chair Crawford, commissioners, staff, and members of the public joining us today. The quote today is from John Wooden, who's a revered basketball player and coach, who's the only person to be inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame as both a player in 1960 and a coach in 1973. His coaching philosophy focused on building character over solely winning, and that success is a byproduct of being a good person and doing things the right way. Continuous improvement, and that one should never stop striving to be better, teamwork and collaboration, and balance and moderation. We know that our residents want access to more DRT service in communities across the region, whether it's all-day service, where today we can only provide peak service, weekend service, where we can currently only provide weekday service, higher frequency on various routes where we only have 30-minute frequency, and more capacity on some of those key ridership corridors and our growth areas. Your DRT staff are fully aware of the transit challenges encountered by residents because they aren't shy to share those with us through DRT customer service, during the many PICs and community engagement activities held throughout the year, and from feedback shared through Councillor's Office throughout the year. At times, it is distressing to staff that they can't do more sooner for our residents. However, they do continue to focus on doing the most they can with the available resources that they have at their disposal. As you'll hear today, 2024 was a great year where DRT exceeded key milestones and continued to build the foundation needed to support the unprecedented transit investments the region is delivering. Next slide, please. So a few highlights from the information report, and these are the regular metrics that we share with you on a monthly basis. We'll also tie in as well our year-end 2024 stats for some of the key metrics also. So from a preventable collision perspective, you will see that we ended the year 51% higher than we were last year. We've previously mentioned the number of new operators that we have, and that there is a correlation between your experience and rates of collision. Bus operators with less than 1 year driving experience accounted for 47% of our collisions last year. And another key highlight that came out is that our collisions within Whitby and Oshawa accounted for 73% of all collisions as well in 2024. So our operations team are conducting a thorough analysis of those collisions, and they are planning an implementation of an action plan later in April. So we do expect to see some of those trends dropping as the year proceeds. As we've mentioned a few times in various forums, the scheduled ridership, we saw record ridership in 2024 at 13.1 million. And also December continue with that trend of monthly records at 958,000 riders. I will share that ridership has increased across all concessions except youth. It remained the same in 2023. Approximately, ridership consists of approximately 49% adults, 24% UPass, 9% youth, 8% from the Transit Assistance Program, 4% seniors, 2% children, and there's about 4% which we aren't able to classify because we had a number of riders, if you recall, the TTC buses that we had in 2024, the first half of the year that didn't have the systems on that were live for ridership. So there's about 4% that fall into there, as well as we do have individuals who underpay at times, and that's part of that 4%. On-demand ridership, we carried over 250,000 people, 265,681 trips last year. 57% of those trips were customers registered with specialized services. From an on-time performance perspective, we remained unchanged on the scheduled side, so the regular service at 69%, but we did start to see improvements in the latter half of the year. If you recall, part of the investments that we are making is to improve reliability. So on some of those key corridors that are struggling with congestion and significant delays, we've been adding more resources there, and we did start to see some improvements in those routes. But overall, through the course of the year, it remained the same as the previous year. We are continuing annually to invest in reliability, and you'll see that again this year. So we will hope to see that number continue to move closer to our target of 80%. On the demand response service side, we saw 88% and 80% on time for customers registered with specialized transit, which is meeting or exceeding our target of 80%. Service availability, and this is the amount of service we actually delivered compared to what we plan. The scheduled regular service improved to 98.5% from 95.7 the year before. So we are starting to see those improvements in terms of the amount of service. Our target is 99.5%, and it was great to see that trend, again, increasing through the latter half of the year through the fall. On demand, service availability was 100% in December. So they actually delivered everything that we had scheduled. From an annual perspective, it was 96.6. The good news is that we saw a consistent trend upwards from January through December, which is what we expected as that service continues to mature. The unaccommodated rate, the unaccommodated rate continues to be higher than we want. It was 32% and 18% for customers registered with specialized transit. Again, as you know, we have 11,000 new service hours that we'll be implementing this year. That will be staggered as the vehicles and the operators come online. We're hoping to have it starting as early as June with full implementation by August of 2025. And if you recall, there's also several revisions to the scheduled network that we're implementing in 2025, including that reintroduction of scheduled service through Brock, Clarington, and some urban areas. That too will free up on-demand resources to be able to deploy to other areas of greatest demand throughout the year. Also want to remind you at this time that staff will be reporting back later on in the spring or early summer with some recommended revisions to the on-demand process so that we can further advance equity across that service. Also really pleased to report that we are completing the local area transit plan for Uxbridge. We had several meetings, PICs over the late January. And if you recall, these local area transit plans focus on transit service in specific rural and growth areas of the region. And those final plans will inform future state of transit service in those areas. We will be issuing a consolidated report later in the year for the Uxbridge and Port Perry LATPs. And look forward for future work for Bowmanville, Newcastle, Curtis, Kendron, Winfields area, Seaton, Brooklyn. That will be completed. At this point, we have it on the books for the end of 26 to get all of those completed. I also wanted to highlight today the extensive information we have on DRT's website for any youth or secondary school students that are using DRT to get to school. On our site, we have a really great page that shows all the routes servicing each of the schools by municipality, and all youth need to do is go in, take a look, find their school, and they'll see all the routes, and there's a link to all the service maps associated with that as well. So making it very easy for them if they do choose to travel with DRT. We also held our annual accessibility forum on January 14th at the Oshawa Convention Center. And as you recall, the purpose of that forum is to engage with residents to highlight accessibility across DRT and to also listen to their feedback in terms of how we can enhance accessibility across the transit network. There were about 45 customers and residents that attended and another 3 virtually. And staff did a great job. I want to commend them for the information they did present, as well as their great responses to questions that came forward. We did receive great feedback, some very positive and also some very constructive feedback for us as we look to improve the event for next year. And I want to thank Chair Henry and Chair Crawford for attending and engaging with the residents and staff. Something we haven't talked about yet either, and it really was something that we're very proud of, is that in December of last year, the Transit Cooperative Research Program of the Federal Transit Administration in the U.S., they prepared a report and issued a report called Transit Agency Goals and Non-Traditional Performance Indicators Focused on Equity. This synthesis report highlighted the work of DRT, the MBTA in Massachusetts, Metro Transit in Minneapolis-St. Paul, SEAL Transit in Seal County, Maryland, and Avita, which is a nonprofit organization that provides specialized transit service in Colorado Springs. I would encourage you, if you're interested, to go to the TRCP website and read a copy of the report. It is very interesting. It's very extensive, but I just pulled out a couple of highlights that I wanted to share with you here today from that report. And the first one is DRT was chosen as a case example because of the transit agency's social equity guidelines, guiding principles that put riders and their needs first, equity vision and buy-in at the decision maker and leadership level, a regional commitment to provide transit to everyone, and a unique operating environment which consists of everything from a dense urban area to vast rural areas. And the second highlight I pulled out was from the lesson learned session from the authors, which read, accessibility helps everyone. DRT has learned that transit accessibility, which is accessibility for people with disabilities and accessibility through a region, helps everyone in the community by improving service for all, while also reducing public costs associated with unemployment, limited access to healthcare, and social isolation. I'm going to invite the DGMs up to sort of share some of the highlights from their areas through the year. And again, we're looking at this as what did we accomplish? I think, very often we're so focused on today, we forget to look back and see all the great work that we've done. So I just wanted us to share that with you today. Unfortunately, Deb Daniels not able to be here, and she leads our engagement and change unit. So I'll pinch hit for her today on her couple slides here. So as you know, we launched the Engagement and Change Unit about 1.5 years ago. 2024 was really the first full year of that group working. And they coordinated 31 charters. So these are bus charters for various events, activities across the region. They completed 20 travel training sessions with individuals and groups. They held over 130 community events, including schools, events specific to seniors. They worked closely with the Ability Center and their programs there, as well as 72 other events across the region for various activities. We also had a grant last year from the province to focus on transportation and seniors, and they held 17 in-person workshops, which was focused on the rural areas in the region, and over 700 older adults participated through those sessions. Other amazing accomplishments that the group had through the year were 13 employee engagement events, and they also launched the high school ambassador pilot at the Ajax High School. Just another plug, we'll be looking to, again, lessons learned from that, from our first implementation, and looking to expand that moving forward to additional schools. From the eligibility and accessibility group within the engagement and change team, major accomplishments is that we updated our travel training card program in terms of how we support various agencies in the community to support travel training for their customers and also our customers. We implemented an updated eligibility appeal policy, which was approved. We also removed a barrier for customers who require support persons, where in the past they had to provide a passport photo, and for anyone who is registered with Specialized, we did remove that requirement because we do know them. If someone isn't registered with Specialized and require a support person, they still are required to provide that photo to use the regular service. We launched our first ever eligibility dashboard to document our applications and statistics, and you'll see some of that on the right-hand side. I'll touch on that in a moment. We also took a lot of time last year to digitize and modernize all of the customer files that we have in accordance with the regional bylaws. And we launched on our website a monthly accessibility spotlight, highlighting accessibility features of our fleet and our transit services. So on the right side there, you'll see from the period of March through December, we processed over 957 applications for Specialized services. And you'll see there, from there, there's various categories of what was approved and the various categories. I can't see in the pie chart, I'm sorry, I can't read it from here, but most are conditional, which means they have some ability to use the regular service, scheduled service from time to time, and then the rest in terms of unconditional, temporary, and or they may be denied because they have the full ability to use the scheduled service. Okay, and with that, I will call up the DGMs, and we'll start with operations. We have David Margiotta here, who is acting for Anthony Pizzetti. David.
For having me here today. So, as we've heard, we served almost over 13 million trips, passengers over the course of 2024, and that's a almost 20% increase from previous years. In 2019 was our record. We've also increased the amount of revenue service hours, almost 19 million revenue service hours. Revenue service kilometers. Which is a 7% increase. Bill talked about the travel training program. Travel training has been expanded to all our customers, so we have the ability to interact with them directly, to acclimate them to the service and help them understand how the service can be provided for them. Additionally, we relaunched our annual customer and community survey. So the qualitative piece of that survey has been completed. The quantitative piece will be completed in the next month or so. The local area transit plans, which were already highlighted, were completed. Port Perry and Uxbridge, I believe. Yeah, thank you. We've also launched the worker outreach program. And so that helps transit connect with social services to help vulnerable populations that may intersect with our service. So people riding the bus in the cold weather, people that we find in shelters, and we really are able to connect them to the right services they need in a timely fashion. And then lastly, our on-demand trip booking. So while we do have the ability to book through the app, we do have a population that is still using the phones, and so their call time is at 3.5 minutes in a queue, and then the handle time on the phone is 3.3 minutes. So relatively quick response for those individuals who do call in to book their trips. I think the next DGM is maintenance.
Thank you so much. New glasses, so I'm going to have to take them off. See that piece. Just to give some context before we get started, seldom do you actually get to hear about behind the scenes, all the stuff that takes to get to the operations. Do you see the front-facing customer interface? Of questions from the maintenance department prior to it. So I'm going to take the liberty and incorporate some of those things, because if you're here, being in the audience, wanting to hear some of those things, I imagine there's other people in the community that would like to hear some things on those as well. So I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us ahead of those. On a side note, it was an interesting conversation I had with my father recently. He's 88, and you can have these wonderful conversations. And I asked him about, he was asking me what I was doing this week, and I said I was explaining to the public what we do in the maintenance department. And he went on to a great detail, about 15 minutes, explaining to me a tour he did at a famous amusement park in Florida, in late in his life, understanding about all the dynamics of what goes on behind the scenes, so you could see that. And it was very interesting to hear him talk about those pieces, because I'm very proud to stand in front of you and explain what the maintenance department does in very, very general details, because we're very proud to make sure that David and the team from an operations is serving the public from there. You can see we maintain about 194 buses within the evolving fleet, as well as we return the buses based after the fire, but 194 buses that on average travel between 75,000 and 80,000 kilometers per year. Giving you some of the context around how much mileage we actually do here at the region, that's about 14 trips to and from the moon. When you're looking at some of those issues, and I just want to say it's about approximately 100 hours of inspections for each one of those buses for every 80,000 kilometers that we do drive. Now, that is just inspections from the Ministry of Transportation as obligated that we're supposed to be doing, and we do. That does not include any further work that those inspections uncover. Those are just general inspections that we have to perform to ensure that we have a safe, reliable fleet on the road at any given time. We do see breakdowns, we do see issues when it comes to transmissions, air condition, fuel lines around those things. That does not include any of the additional work that the team actually ends up doing. We have shifted and put a considerable amount of training and education and working hands-on with our supplier as well with our mechanics to start to look at the new battery electric technology. We have a diesel fleet, and now we're introducing the new electric battery fleet with that, and that requires a tremendous amount of training, understanding, and knowledge. And we have a very experienced mechanics throughout our department, and now we're also transitioning their skills from predominantly diesel to now understanding that the electric technology. And it's been very rewarding in understanding how we know that fleet is going to grow. The skill sets are going to be having to grow when it comes to how we're going to be attracting future mechanics in the coming years. We had 19 buses lost to fire, and we had a previous presentation and an acknowledgement in 2024 that we had it in record time. We had them replaced, which is an anomaly when you look at the demand for diesel and electric buses and the limited number of vendors we do have here in the country to provide us with those buses. We were able to work with our partners to understand the need to get that, to ensure we had maintained those services. One of the other proud moments I have, and I just like to acknowledge our team, our entire team, is that we actually worked outside the box thinking, and there was another transit agency that was looking to have specialized vehicles. We were looking to get additional vehicles, and we actually worked with them and partnered with them so we could actually exchange what they needed and what we needed at zero cost to our organization. I think from a financial implication, I think there was $1 exchange between the two so that we could move it forward. But this, once again, leads to more innovative thought process around how we can actually dispose of our assets, as well as looking with other partners to acquire assets that's going to help us deliver those. So just from the Deputy General Manager's perspective, we don't often get time to sit here and speak to you on those ones. Very proud of what we have to do to put those mechanisms in place to make sure that we have a reliable, safe vehicles that are on the road to serve our public. And I'll now turn it over to the Deputy General Manager of Business Services to conclude on his remarks.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm sorry, bear with me a bit. My voice is failing, but I'm going to do my best. I just want to very briefly thank General Manager Holmes and the committee. We don't often get the opportunity to come up here and list our accomplishments for last year. And just before I kind of go through my slide, thank you. I also want to take the time just to say thank you to my team, some of which are here today, because to be honest, we wouldn't be able to do these accomplishments without them. So thanks very much, guys. So jumping into it, while maintenance are certainly our fleet managers, we're really happy to say that we work closely with our finance department to deliver $16 million in external funding, which allows us to buy more buses, put more buses on the road, and obviously improve service delivery. As you may recall, last year we signed the first of its kind infrastructure delivery agreement with PowerOn, which is a subsidiary of OPG. And really happy to say that we're already experiencing expedited project delivery through that mechanism, as well as reduced costs, and we're going to have more to say on that in the coming months. I'm happy to announce that the 6-bus pilot was fully commissioned last year, in spite of a challenging supply chain environment that continues to kind of sit with us from the pandemic. Those buses have been operational since the later part of last year, and we continue to monitor performance. And while nobody really liked the cold weather. For us, it was actually really good because we got to stress test those buses in some really cold weather, and they're performing admirably. And that's really good for our operations and maintenance plans. The team handled just under 45,000 calls and 5,000 emails, which is certainly a lot. We introduced better payment solutions, including mobile wallet for both Android and iPhone. And they're both fully compatible with OneFare, which provides more opportunities for customers boarding DRT buses. And lastly, we continue to develop our data architecture that sets us up for long-term success to make data-informed decision-making. And that's it. Thank you very much.
So that's our presentation for February. And again, thank you for allowing us to share what we feel are some of our really customer-facing accomplishments. I can say there was a lot more accomplishments in the background from an organizational perspective and internal perspective that really benefit the organization to support customers moving forward. And happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, team, for those reports. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. And I have some other questions that's not, a couple of questions that's not a part of this. So I'm sure there'll be an opportunity to ask those at a later juncture during the meeting.
So do we want to take questions just at the presentation or any questions at this point in time?
I'll do just the presentation first, and maybe later on I'll
Okay.
do the questions. I see at some point I saw that On Demand was at 100%, fulfilling all the requests. Is that
So
correct?
all service hours that we had planned for December were delivered. So
Okay.
yes.
That's why I haven't received any call from our favorite person, correct? I haven't gotten any emails
So
in the last
we,
few weeks.
as you recall, we improved from about 96% in January, ending up at 100% in December. And for every percentage point, there's a number of hours that we can't deliver because of employee illness, vehicle breakdowns, or other challenges. But the fact that we delivered all the service would have a positive impact on our capacity. However, demand still exceeds our capacity. We know even though we were at 100% of our service on the street, our unaccommodated rate was still up around 32% and 18% for customers registered with Specialized.
That's where I was going. I just wondered. So they were unfulfilled.
We still had unaccommodated trips in the month of December, even though all of our scheduled and planned service was on the street, yes.
Are there any plans to be able to provide full service to all our residents, especially the ones in Clarington that complains a lot, that I know of anyway?
Sure. So there's two things through the chair that we're doing in 2025. The first is that as part of our regular process, once there's ridership at specific levels, we're able to go from on-demand to scheduled service. And we're doing that in a couple of areas, which includes there's a new route going up through to Brock. And there's also some, I believe we're doing a switch in Clarington as well in an area, which frees up those on-demand resources to be redeployed elsewhere. So that's going to happen. That will improve our capacity, as well as the additional new 11,000 hours that were added in the 2025 budget. And they will come online as early as June. And we're expecting that it'll all be in place by the end of August.
Okay. Through the chair, one final, is specialized service incorporated now with on-demand or?
It is. Yes, it is. They're both demand responsive services. Through 24, roughly 57% of the capacity was used by customers registered with specialized transit.
And these on-demand vehicles, are they equipped to handle folks with disabilities?
Through the chair, we have a variety of vehicles. The majority of our customers are ambulatory. So we have a mixture of vehicles. We have sedans, we have vans, and we also have what we're calling the ProMaster van, which is a little bigger. So we have a mixture depending on the needs of the customers, yes.
Okay. Are you, how should I phrase this? Are you making sure that folks that really need the service, that needs to get to a doctor, that has dialysis, are they a priority?
So as a public transit provider, we are unable to prioritize trip purpose or individual. So it's first come, first serve. If there was to be a dedicated service or prioritization for dialysis or a specific day program, that would be separate. And that would have to be, I would expect, at a full cost recovery basis. Right now, as a public transit provider, it's first come, first serve. So really our customers from that perspective are anonymous. It doesn't matter where they're going or who they are, why they're traveling. They've just requested a trip, which we do our best to provide. So we do not prioritize any trips based on the need for where that person is going.
So prior to the incorporation of the service, there was specialized transit that was specific for these folks, correct?
Specialized transit was a separate operating unit, but it too did not have any prioritization. So nothing changed from that perspective. All we've done is taken that separate unit and combined it with the other demand response. So there's been no loss of service, no change in service type. It was really a seamless transition.
So you're saying, in other words, and the service has not gone down or deteriorated since the change was made. Is
Correct.
that correct?
Correct. The average number of trips made by customers registered with specialized service is actually a little higher now than it was before we made the transition. Are there challenges people have in that they want a trip right at 8 o'clock or they want a trip right at 4 o'clock? We see that across the network because that's the busiest time. We won't likely be able to accommodate everybody. So that's where you'll see if someone calls looking for a trip at 4 o'clock, we might not have 4 o'clock, but maybe we'll have 4:15 or 4:30, or we won't have any capacity because it's just fully used. So we do our best to meet all those requirements, but it's not a guarantee. It really is depending on the capacity that we have available.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Commissioner McCauley? It took me 2 years to get Bruce's name right, so be patient.
The mic again. There we go. I'm only putting my, hitting the button, so you have to say my name. So there you go. Thank you for the presentation. I just want to circle back on the collisions. It's a significant increase. And, I understand new drivers. Is there any reason why Whitby and Oshawa are seeing it? Is that where all our new drivers went? Or is it just luck of the draw, or is Whitby's a dangerous place to be, which it could be?
I wouldn't say that any location is dangerous. I would say that we do experience more congestion in certain areas based on the geometry of the roads and traffic. So we're digging a little deeper into that to find out what's going on. That would be what we would expect is traffic volumes and congestion and just the geometry of a big vehicle and the width lanes and those types of issues, combined with people who are less experienced in maneuvering in that type of environment. But we're going to dig a little deeper into that. But I wouldn't say any area is dangerous. It's just perhaps we need to be a little more careful in terms of where we're and how we're operating in these tight areas.
Yeah, I think, just it doesn't, I guess my concern is that the number of new hires and the number of collisions, they don't actually match. And it's, it's a significant increase. So it is a little concerning, and I think and I understand, I read in the report that you're putting supervisors in with them and trying to help them through the process now, and that's great. But, I think I would like to keep a close eye on that one, because it's a little concerning. Is there any impact to our insurance, or, what sort of results, consequences of that have we seen with insurance?
So through the chair, I will indicate that what we classify as a preventable isn't always a reportable collision for the purposes of police requirements or insurance requirements. A lot of it is internal, but we classify it as preventable because anything that we can prevent is a potential for down the line. So that does include some internal situations, but our insurance in general isn't necessarily being impacted by this issue. They are very minor situations. The big fire has a much bigger impact on our insurance than whacking a bunch of mirrors do. But anyways, we keep our eye on it, and to your point, we're monitoring as well, and we want to see the trends dropping also. So that's why we're really paying close attention to this one.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Garrett?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the way you say my name. So just to double down, General Manager, about some of the celebrations. So certainly the attention that Uxbridge has been getting over the last year and the improved service is certainly recognized. Most recently with the LATPs, the advertising that went into it, both the paper, we had a full spot on the radio station, we blitzed as much as we could on socials, got some support on that through other councillors. So everything we could do, we did do. I went to 2 of the sessions just to pop in. The professionalism and approachability of the staff that you have out there is second to none. They just make it so easy for people to connect with them. So thank you so much on that. There is one more coming if we look into 2025 where there's some direct consultation around seniors. I'm part of the Age Friendly Committee, and there's some real focus there about nobody thinks they're ever going to have that day when you're not driving, yet we all eventually face that. And the connection there with DRT to genuinely work with them to say, how do we graciously approach that subject with we've got some of the highest level of people over 65 in Durham Region or in Uxbridge, so how do we bring that to them in a graceful way to get their attention? So there's that happening as well, so I'm appreciative of that. There was reference to the high schools. I would just encourage still, if I can, because I'm always asking, if I can ask for one more piece, is to spend some time at the high school, just to, again, just with a session or multiple sessions even, just where people can get used to walking up to those very approachable staff members, I think some of which are here, to have that conversation that it's not uncool to ride a bus. It's fine if you take your bus to either home or to the jobs that they have in the south end of town. So just I'll always have another ask, Bill, I will, so that's my one for today. So that's it, all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. No further questions. We have no delegations, no correspondence, and just the General Manager's report as 8.1. Can I get a move to receive? Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner McCaughey. Is there any further questions to the report? I'll just be saying it like every syllable. Yeah. All in favor? Great. No advisory committee, no confidential matters. Is there any other business? Commissioner, of course, McCaughey.
Now, there we go. I guess we spoke about this morning in Works, and I think it bears repeating. Purchase Canadian. And so I'd like to hear if this is something that has started, the dialogue has started in transit around, our purchasing policies, and if you're even on this page yet, but I'm sure you are, and where we're going with that.
There we go. Thank you. And through the chair, I am going to ask James to follow up. I can say that we do follow the corporate procurement processes and policies, and I know we're always looking at, what can we do and source as close to home as possible. When we're looking at buses and parts, a very international supply chain that was referenced before. We still are managing through that, but I will ask James if he has anything to add specifically from the maintenance perspective from a procurement of parts, inventory, and vehicles.
Yeah, thanks so much, Bill. Under the leadership of the Commissioner Taylor, she's also working with the procurement group because it's just not isolated to DRT. Works has the same challenges when it comes to those pieces. Her team is leading a number of initiatives, in particular, what vendors are we dependent upon in the United States? Are there any Canadian alternates? Are we seeing any pressures as we relate right now? So I would definitely say, in participating in Bill's absence last week with SMT, it is being well discussed and well formulated about where are dynamic pressures. And on a side note, I'll commend Commissioner Taylor for pulling that together to start to look at it. And we are keeping a very, very close eye on it. You can look from the auto parts particularly. I think an auto part will cross the border like 12 times before it's actually potentially put into the thing. But we are well engaged with our finance team to make sure that it's looked at it holistically.
Thank you, because I know that this was all the talk at AMO last week. And, we had the mayor of Windsor and, it's all very relative. And I think he said 7 or 8 times across the border, but I think you're probably right. I think it's higher. I know that the procurement legalities come into play, but there is a strong push for provincially and federally now across all municipalities to start looking at how we can change that. So, it's good to keep that back of mind when you're sourcing and when you're looking for things, because I think we're going to see some changes. But I do appreciate any efforts made, and I think the rest of the people around the table are probably feeling the same way. So, thank you.
I watched a very interesting interview of a gentleman in the Canadian automotive business saying that that he believes that the U.S. automotive business is going to look after that problem for us because the parts that are procured are they're not stockpiled. So they're made specifically for that order and then shipped. So if there's no order, there's no business, and their companies will be out of business. So he said he firmly believed that the U.S. automotive business would look after that problem for us. So I don't really know. Everyone's an expert now, right? Commissioner Anderson.
Well, the esteemed councillor took my, that's what I was going to ask, but I will ask. So our buses, for example, are they all, whether it's the electric bus or conventional bus, are they all built in the States?
So through the chair, there's 2 bus manufacturers in Canada, Nova and New Flyer. Nova's based out of Quebec and New Flyer out of Winnipeg. They do have various points of their production that are completed in Canada and the U.S., but our purchases with the Canadian bus manufacturer, 2 Canadian bus manufacturers.
So we have been doing that?
Correct.
Okay. So most of my questions have been answered. So thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, a New York company ordered 100 buses from our Canadian company.
Correct.
Correct, yes. Which limits the supply again. Anyway, okay. Is there any other new business? Seeing none. Our next meeting is Wednesday, March the 5th. Is there? Oh, Chair Henry, did you want to say? Oh, sorry. I just saw you there.
I do, Madam Chair, apologize for being late, but I was at an announcement, and a promise has been made by the current Premier to remove the tolls on the 407 from Brock Road to the 115 if they're reelected, which is something the region has been working on for a very long period of time. So good news.
That's good news. Thank you. Love a good election. Okay, so the next is an adjournment. I need a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner Brenner. Is there any questions about adjourning? All in favor? Thank you.